Good morning, crew. It's Friday. It's Raw Vlog episode 2. On my way to get coffee. So what I've been thinking about this morning, before I get any further, I've got a few more questions for the Ask Me Anything a few more questions that got lost. So I'm gonna try to spin through those really quickly once I get into the parking lot. Holy crap, it's crazy right now. So yeah, we'll get to those at the end of this, once I can get to the parking lot and read my notebook. So Leogang was last week. Had a good time watching that. I actually hung out at the Path for a while and watched some of it, because they've been airing that at the shop down there, and then watched the rest of it with Kelly when I got back, and that was a really good race. Loic Bruni is just freaking fast. It's crazy that Greg Minnar was only 0.324 seconds or something like that behind him. That guy is still just a badass. Aaron Gwin came in 5th, and that's with a busted ankle, so watch out for that dude for the rest of the season. I think he's still just getting up to speed, so that's always, for me, that's impressive to see. He's so even keel with so much stuff. He's one of those people that I tend to look at and just kind of want to be like that guy, because he just seems to be able to take anything. I think in Fort William, his bike got stolen and he was messed up, and then he had that crazy cartwheel crash, and his response to it was well, okay, we're still gonna make it work, and that's cool to see. Tracey was really cool to see that she won with Rachel in the race. I think every time she's won before, Rachel Atherton was not in the race, so that was really cool. She was pretty stoked on that. And then I'm really sorry, I've forgotten her name. The German racer rides Juliana. Sorry, folks. But that was really cool to see. Her race run was crazy wild. Loved that style, and she came in 2nd. Stoked for her. The reason I'm into racing and watching racing is you just see all the personalities. You get to watch people negotiate trails, and you get to see that these elite athletes be challenged, and to me that's relatable. I was listening to a podcast with Loic Bruni, and we're talking about the guy who's just winning, and is just an amazing rider, but he was talking about how coming into this season, he was on a kind of training plan, and he felt like he wasn't quite up to speed at some of the earlier races, and was feeling really behind everybody, and just kind of forced himself to stay within his plan, even though he felt like he was slower than everybody. He didn't let what all of his competitors, all the other people on the trail, he didn't let that affect him too much. And this is coming from a guy who is probably a little more conscious than others, or more affected than others by other people around him. So it was cool to see that. It was cool to hear about that. About even at that level, it doesn't matter where you're at in riding, that it's still important to know where you're at and do what you need to do, and not be too affected by what else is going on around you on the trail. I definitely experienced that when I ride with people like Tommy, and he's doing stuff that is just too much for me, or too gnar. I'm not going to force myself to do it just because of the person I'm riding with is doing it. I'm gonna ride my ride, and I think that's cool. All right, let me jump into this questions. I don't want to make these videos too long. I'm already at 4:30. I was trying to keep it around 5 minutes. So I'm gonna jump into the questions. Trevor Zach, my favorite memory. This one's kind of tough. There's so many good memories that I've had mountain biking. I would say, for me, I have to kind of wrap it into the whole experience, because I have just pretty much every time I get on the bike, it's a good time. But that, you know, just kind of whole package is maybe where I would be able to pull that memory out. And that would be the Santa Cruz trip, you know, because like we were staying in a really nice Airbnb, good friends, and we would go ride, and maybe it's not a trail memory, but you know, we would go ride, and then afterwards we'd all be hanging out at the place, and just enjoying the afterglow. So I'm gonna pick that one. Ferensky asked me what were my other bike options when I bought the Santa Cruz. I covered that a little bit. I think it was, you know, the Transition Patrol was the other main one. The Santa Cruz Nomad was definitely an option. It probably just had a little too much travel, a little too big of a bike for me, because I do like to do like longer rides with a lot of pedaling. And then I demoed a whole bunch of other bikes, but I don't feel like they were ever really an option. The Process 153 was probably the closest. It was like a third option. Cool. B Ortiz 10. Do I have a 6.25 rear float lying around? No. Mike Kirk. How's that upside smell down? 12. Trail Daddy. How did I start mountain biking? What's my day job? So I covered that in the Ask Me Anything. So if you haven't watched that video, watch that on YouTube. We're on YouTube. Mello 1850. What's up, Mello? How long have I been riding, and what bikes have I had in that time? So I've been riding, I want to say 3 years, about 3 years, maybe 3.5 years. The first bike I had was a 29er hardtail specialized rock hopper, so just kind of an XC bike. I actually took that up I took that to a lot of places. People will often ask, like, can I ride that on a hardtail? And the answer is generally yes. Might not always be fun, you know, but yeah, you can ride pretty much anything on a hardtail. Hardtails were around a long time before full suspension bikes. Blaine Long Music. What's up, Blaine? I just have like notes. I don't have the actual questions, but it was basically like, have I ever built jumps in front of the house using milk crates and boards? I've built jumps in the backyard using tires and boards back like when I was like in grade school. And we had 2 levels. We had the 1 tire level and the 2 tire level. And at the time, we didn't know anything about angles and stuff. So the 1 tire jump was like this, and then we used the same board for the 2 tires, so it was like this. And I remember when I tried to graduate to the 2 tires, I did a backflip. Well, not, I did a half a backflip and landed on my back. The bike was still on top of me. I'm remembering that as me. That might have been my brother. In any case, have I ever popped a wheelie a block long? No, no good at wheelies, but I will work on that. And find a short block to do that in. Have I ever put a playing card in my spokes and made realistic motorbike sounds? No, but I still do make rap sounds and I read the stuff. You've probably seen that on video. So yes, that's still there. Do snakes yawn? Only when they're hungry. Coxadoodle-doo asks what made me want to move to California. I actually didn't want to move to California. I came here with my parents when I was a teenager, and I hated it here when I first moved here, until I realized how rad it is. So yeah, I moved from Tennessee, and I really wanted to move back to Tennessee originally, and you know, I was a teenager, so how was I going to make that happen? So I ended up here and then fell in love with Southern California. I've got a question from Chad and a question from Pro60 Belair. I'm going to like wait on those for just a minute because they're going to take a little bit longer. But BC Blands asked what my favorite trails are. I kind of answered that in the Ask Me Anything. But if I were to call like a trail system, a trail network, that one's hard to. In the winter, like I really like stuff like Santiago Oaks or Laguna, Elisa. Once I ride there more, man, I don't know. I guess let me answer it this way: if I had to pick a system of trails that I could only ride for a year, I don't like that question, but I have to answer it now. I would have to say Sky Park. I hope that is a good answer. So Pro60 Belair asks, what was it? Oh, ask what was the best beginner trails to get your wife into mountain biking. So this is kind of, there's two ways to answer this. The main thing is, I'm not going to tell you what trails because I don't really know where you're at. But if you're in the OC, the lower trails from Irvine Regional Park are really good. And the reason they're really good, and this is probably the really important part of this answer, is you want to find trails that are have really good payoff with not a lot of buy-in. So you don't want to have like a crazy hard fire road climb in the sun where you're just dying, and then you turn around and there's like, it's not very pretty, and then your descent is maybe too hard or too steep or too boring. So if you look at those trails at the bottom that are kind of flat near Irvine Regional Park, there's a little bit of challenging stuff for somebody who's brand new, you know. And then once you're out there, it's beautiful. There's just like green and flowers and trees, and it's nice to look at, and you can get a nice little loop in. But what really needs to go into that, you need to invest in probably a lesson for your wife, depending on her level of athlete. Actually, not even depending on that, because there's just like standard basics that really help you riding a mountain bike that you don't necessarily get just riding a bike in general. So if you have an REI near you, they often will do mountain bike lessons, or if you can find some sort of coaching session, that's huge. That's what I did with Kelly. My buddy Chad used to teach mountain biking for REI, and he basically like ran her through the course that he would have run, and that really helped, right? So having basics before getting on the trail, and then having a trail with good payoff with not a lot of buy-in. Hope that helps. Average Chad, it's good to get a question from you. I'm really sorry I missed it. You asked what the feeling I'm searching for when I'm riding my bike. So I did kind of talk about that in the Ask Me Anything, where I'm looking for those moments of bliss and just generally flow state. But your question of like what makes me tick, man, I think this is like where if I relate it to mountain biking, it's a lot of the times it comes down to coming across things that I can't do and learning how to do them. That might mean negotiating some bit of terrain. That might mean, you know, working on my jumps, or some sort of skill. More broadly, I think when I come across things that seem incongruent, there's a part of me that always wants to find some level of congruency. There's, what's the word I'm looking for? I always forget this word. I know the Asian word for it. It's a koan, where it's a, it's kind of like a puzzler where not incongruency, not duality. It's where two things like are together, but they don't make sense that they're together. What the heck does that word? Maybe I'll say it later. But and there's usually some level of truth in that, in the fact that when those things that are together but don't make sense together, paradox. Haha. So paradox really kind of, that really makes me tick, because when I find paradox, that's really, it's not that the things are incongruent, right? But paradoxes point out something in your brain, right? They're not an indicator of something out there. They're an indicator of some sort of assumption or incorrect logic you have in your brain, incorrect understanding of the world. And so if you look at paradoxes and once you understand them or can kind of unravel them, it usually reveals something about reality. So yeah, okay, cool. Wow, we're almost at 15 minutes. I'm throwing stuff all around. Gonna get coffee. Hope you dug this. If you dug this, hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the comment button and let me know why. And hit the subscribe button to get more raw vlogs, but also you'll get riding videos and stuff like that. And all my raw vlogs will have raw vlog in caps at the beginning, and I'll pretty much just use the same thumbnail. Oh, see you out there on the trails. I'll be in Snow Summit this weekend, at least on Saturday.